I believe. There we go. Jose, would you like to get us started here?
Yeah, no worries. I know you have some background in your end, so I'll help out. So thank you everyone for joining the Train the Trainer session. Today you're going to be able to learn more about Gladeo LA and also ask any questions directly to the founders of Gladeo LA as well as LADC. But I'll get started just to give you an overview of LADC. Some of you already might know what LADC does, but I'll give you a quick overview. And then we have some time to answer any questions. So LADC stands for Los Angeles County Economic Development Corporation. We've been around for 42 years. We were actually established by the Board of Supervisors to bring economic development with the LA region. So we work with all 88 cities in the LA area. We have different departments within LADC. The ones that are organizing this current initiative with Gladeo LA is the Workforce Development Department. We're a team of 3. It's myself, Mariana, and our director, Jermaine Hampton. So our main goal within the workforce development is to build equitable talent pipelines in the high growth industry, and you'll learn more about that as well. Main thing about LADC that's very unique from a lot of economic development corporations is that we have our own Institute of Applied Economics. So anything that you see LADC push out, it's always going to be backed up by data. We also have a BAP team, which works with all 88 cities, providing direct services to businesses, and the main service that they provide is layoff aversion. As mentioned, LADC does a lot within the LA region. We are known as the conveners of LA. We are actually currently moving an initiative called SERVE, which Mariana can probably put in the chat for those of you who are not involved. I urge you to join that initiative with potential opportunity to get some funding for some of these strategies that are going to be coming down the pipeline. And again, we are currently still very excited to have launched Gladeo Los Angeles, but I'll let Mariana kind of touch base more on that.
Thank you, Jose. So Gladeo LA is a virtual career exploration platform designed for Angelinos to make informed decisions about upskilling, reskilling, and personal career paths. So I'll go ahead and kick it off to Grace, who has a great slide deck to go over with us.
Hello, everyone. My name is Grace Cho. I'm co-founder and COO of Gladeo. We've had the privilege of partnering with LAEDC sometime last year to partner on creating this Los Angeles region-focused career platform. As Mariana said, Gladeo LA is a free online career navigation platform aimed at helping all Angelinos, from high school students to college students to people who are changing careers and are in their 30s and 40s or 50s. We really are trying to bring everything onto one platform to make it really easy to find all the right information, resources, and even help people find maybe events or groups where they can build their network. Just to give a little background on Gladeo, our approach to career development, I believe, is pretty unique. One of the reasons I think why LADC really, why we stood out to them is that we have a really strong focus on inclusivity. I'll be showing you some of our approach to, we heavily use video storytelling in really that beginning stage of career navigation, which is to help expose people to relatable role models. And we have a focus on making sure we have coverage of people who are historically underrepresented and come from diverse socioeconomic backgrounds. We also have quite a few accessibility features, which I'll also give a tour of later, as well as translation into many of the top, other than English, languages that are spoken in here in our county. We're also heavily impact driven and informed by research. Gladeo is a public benefit corporation. And our focus is really that social impact. And so we're really focused where it's not just with words. If you're curious, you can link. We'll share a link to this deck, which will also have a link to the white paper. But if you're curious, I'm going to go over to it right now because people are like, what does that mean? So if you read our white paper, the part that really shows is we have really derived our work from a lot of the top, most reputable career development theories, as well as relational role modeling theories, and really made sure that the design of our site is based in that research. So I won't go through all that because we only have a certain amount of time today. And also, lastly, like we said, just it's a really integrated experience. So in the past, if you work with youth or adult learners, you may have had to go to a bunch of different sites for career videos, and another for assessment, and then maybe another one for career profiles, and another one to search for relevant programs, and then maybe not even anywhere to go find like a personalized newsfeed of opportunities and resources. What Gladeo does is brings that all together into one site, so the user doesn't have to go to all these many sites. And yeah, so that's our approach. So one of the key things that users can do for free on our site is watch video interviews of diverse professionals. And just to give you a sense of what that is, I'm going to show you one of the videos. So please let me know. I'm not going in full screen, but let me know if you can't hear the sound. I think I clicked the right button.
Hello, my name is Chrissy Hernandez. I'm a creative director in Los Angeles, California. A creative director can mean quite a few things in different industries. For me personally, it means a person who comes up with the ideas for photo shoots and campaigns for websites. And in my case, that would mostly be fashion and beauty websites. But when I was at Sephora, I had this great mentor named Mia, and she said to me once, treat every project like it's something that you would want to put in your portfolio. And that gave me a really different perspective on how I viewed my work and how I felt at work, because if I come in every day and I really want to be proud of what I'm doing, then I've got to put all my energy and effort and like give a little bit of myself to it rather than just thinking of it as a job. When I was growing up, I always really loved drawing. Like my mom and my grandma would always go to this cute little copy shop, and I remember we'd meet up there like 2-3 times a week, and every time we'd go, I'd order fries and my mom would give me a napkin and a pen, and I would just draw for hours. Growing up, you know, my dad had his own upholstery shop, so he was, in his own way, very creative. He would, you know, and I remember like when I was a kid, he would let me and my brother like do the button machine, or like he would teach us how to sew little pouches for our pencils and things like that. When I was in high school, I had this really great teacher who brought people in from different colleges and universities, or different professionals that would actually talk to us about all the things you can do as a creative career. And that was really an eye-opener for me, because I was the first in my family to go to college, and so there weren't a lot of people that I could talk to and communicate with about what options were out there. Through a series of events, I ended up with a job interview at Fox, which I was very excited and nervous about. I ended up getting the job, and it was a contract job, which means, you know, it's only for, it can be ended at any time. It's an hourly job. I only ended up lasting at that job for 4 months because I was so inexperienced. And that was tough, because, you know, I was so excited. I had this big break, and then immediately, like, it had fallen out of my hands. And then I had another job that I learned catalog design and learning how to do logo design and hang tags. So then I was building more skills. So I think with each failure came an opportunity to grow and learn. And so, you know, definitely I got down sometimes, but what I realized after a period of time is that it actually made me a stronger designer at the end. So sometimes in failures you can find really amazing successes. Besides work, I pretty much love doing everything you can possibly think of. I am an avid adventurer, traveler. I've now been to over 46 countries, and I love hiking, rock climbing, whitewater rafting, just about anything really. Anything active I love to do. But then I also love traveling because you get introduced to so many different types of cultures and people, and see all kinds of different architecture. So I just love absorbing all of those things in life.
So that's an example of one of our videos. We have, I don't know the count exactly, but quite a few videos, right, Mariana, on our site, spanning from like Chrissy, who does a creative career, to people who work at LA airports, to in manufacturing or in advanced transportation. And we're adding to this library every month. And so we're trying to build as diverse and as representative a career professional library for LA, so that really anyone from any background can go on to Gladeo LA and really hopefully see themselves and be encouraged and inspired that all career paths are possible for them. And so obviously the next quiz is like, okay, everything's possible, but what's right for me, right? That's a huge question, obviously, and a huge part of career development. If you've worked with students, you're very familiar with these kinds of quizzes or assessments. Gladeo's is integrated into our platform. It's based on Holland's codes, which matches what the Department of Labor uses to classify careers. So it's really kind of a simplified way of really just giving people directional guidance when they're on Gladeo LA. The results of the quiz are slightly more catered to if you live in LA County, hence it's Gladeo LA. But at the end, it's a mixture of what matches their personality and also what's kind of in demand and what's a viable, sustainable career within our region. So to give you just a little bit of a preview of what that looks like, I'm not going to take the quiz because it takes a while. But if you're here on our site, you can easily navigate to the quiz that way. There are a few other places where it's kind of shows up so that people can easily find it. And then, sorry, I'm logged in, so, okay. So the quiz is just super easy to take. It's a series of anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how fast you are. And then you get your results here like this. So it gives you your top 3 Holland's codes personality types, and kind of breaks it down like what the top ones were. And obviously that combo is different for everyone. And then it also has an interests kind of survey for you. So it combines those 2 things and gives you career matches. This is a great way for people to kind of start discovering relevant career paths that might match them. So I did also want to walk through some of our career profiles. One thing that's really unique, I believe, about Gladeo LA is, and part of our inspiration for why we started Gladeo in the first place was really just my co-founder and my sister and I, Michelle, were volunteering with young people and trying to help them navigate into careers that Michelle and I weren't familiar with. So we went to the internet, like most people, came across kind of like the free resources that were out there, ONET, et cetera, and just really were struggling, to use some of these resources because the information was either outdated, not really relevant and practical, giving real guidance, and sometimes flat out inaccurate, especially when it came to any of the untraditional, maybe creative careers that we kind of knew but didn't know enough. And so we're like, you know what, this is really an equity issue, because everyone always says, right, like the best way to find out about a career is to get an informational interview. And that's really because you're going straight to the source. And so we're like, well, that's a shame, right? Like, what if you really are relying on these online resources and don't have someone to talk to, so you just don't get the right information? We're like, that's not fair, right? And that's also probably exacerbating a lot of the diversity, inclusivity issues in a lot of career paths that are really great. And so that's what we kind of set out to solve when we created Gladeo. So if you go to any of our career profiles, you'll notice that all the information is kind of unique in that we haven't taken this information from some outside source. We've gone and done research as well as hundreds and hundreds of informational interviews with actual professionals who are in this line of work. So we wanted to make it like a digital informational interview experience, essentially. All right. So like we've gone and asked all the questions that you would need to ask on one of those interviews, and gone and really made it so that this information is available to everyone. You can learn about what kind of education and training you need. And some of this is really just like advice from a person, right? So not necessarily something you would find anywhere else. Advice on what to look for when you're choosing a program, right? So for different fields, that's different, right? So I remember like a good friend of mine here in LA is a reporter. She was a radio reporter and then she was a TV news reporter. And so I like to give her example because for her field, something she didn't know when she chose her program when she was in high school, but something she found out after a year of college was that more than learning just in the classroom, she needed to have she needed to have real life experience. And when she picked her school for journalism, she had gone to just the higher ranking school, as most of us, that's without other information, that would be the way that you would choose, right? And so she had gone to I think UCSB. And then she realized in her program, she was going to get very little hands-on work. And so she was worried that when she graduated, she'd have trouble finding a job. So she took the initiative to transfer to a Cal Poly school. I know Cal Poly is really known for a lot of that hands-on experience. And then she actually came out way ahead of her peers who graduated, technically from higher ranking schools and got 6 job offers, right out of school. So that's the kind of advice that she would have gotten if she went on Gladeo. She would have read about that and maybe asked that, right, to counselors before she chose her school. Another really unique thing that Gladeo career profiles have are these roadmaps. So I always like to show this digital marketer one because it's always kind of eye-opening for people. So one thing that young people often are also totally in the dark about or very confused about is what is the entry-level job and what's the progression to where I might end up. A lot of people talk about I want to be a head of marketing or I want to be the head of digital marketing. That's great, but where do you start? And oftentimes that's a barrier, right, to understanding what entry-level jobs do I even apply for? How do I do research on that entry-level job so that I know I have the right skills, to get started? Because no one starts at the top, right? So even for something like digital marketing, there's the top 2 jobs are a little bit more creative, a little bit more writing and planning, and a little more, you have to be more visually and either kind of visually artistic or creative, or a good writer or witty, to be doing those copywriter jobs and very attention to detail, versus the bottom 2 jobs are a lot more quantitative. And all of those kind of may lead to the same job. So young people and teachers and parents alike are always oh, that's true. I didn't know about that. And so knowing where you can start out For different jobs, there also may be like different education paths that could lead in, because not all jobs require it, but sometimes some people have it, some people don't. So we try to make this this is the kind of contextual information you'd get from talking to several people in the field only. Are there any questions? Just want to like pause, Joseph or Casey, as I just kind of ramble through.
No questions. You're explaining it quite well, quite nicely.
Okay.
I like
Cool.
the video a lot. Really goes into the story of I forgot her name. What's her name?
Chrissy.
Yeah, it really goes into her story. So I'm on board. I really like what you're having to talk about. And we talk in our program, we give different tastes of different fields. By different tastes, I mean, let's say, for instance, we talk about social media and digital marketing. Let's say in a week, let's say we would invite this person to come to our class, and she would talk about her experiences, her failures, and how she overcame those, and just give a little exercise of social media, little exercise, kind of like a little like a lab component. Like, okay, so I want to have a social media post, or I want to do a photo shoot, or something. This is what it would look like. These are the cameras I use. And like, oh wow, cool. And it's hands on the spot. So
that's really wonderful. I mean, most schools don't like have the resources or the ability to kind of provide that kind of programming for their students. So that's really amazing. I mean, if in any way Gladeo LA can help you kind of even augment that, or like help reach the students who maybe have slightly more obscure interests, right? To like get that similar kind of experience, but digitally that you may not be able to, right? Like even if you had a different person come in every week, like there's only so many people that you could bring in. So it sounds like you're right on that path, so it would make a lot of sense.
And I would love to, work with you, Grace, about that, probably bringing in some of these folks, because currently we're doing a program with LA County Probation to bring in, CTE and these kinds of fields into the juvenile camps. One of them is the Dorothy Kirby Center. And so we're going to kind of begin not another cohort, but another group sometime in February. And so a lot of them wanted to get into entertainment. They want to be, they want to do the business side of entertainment.
Oh, really? That's what I did for 15 years before I started Gladeo.
So I think you would be a really good fit in this case. I really didn't know. It's the first time ever meeting you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot to give our background. So actually, my co-founder and I, she's my sister. If she was on this call, you'd recognize. We kind of look alike. We actually so we have a younger sister as well. All three of us moved to LA after college to come work in entertainment, and we all kind of worked in different parts of it. Michelle was an independent film producer. She worked in the development side, in film mostly. I worked on the business side. So I was a finance and strategy business development executive at 20th Century Fox for many years until it got gobbled up by Disney. And then I left. And then it was great because I was excited to start working on Gladeo full-time, because it was like a volunteer kind of passion project on the side for many years. And then our younger sister she was one of the youngest kind of full members of the Directors Guild. She was a second assistant director. So that's kind of, I don't know if you're familiar, you probably are. But they're kind of like this operating managers of TV and film sets.
Interesting. Okay.
The nomenclature is so misleading because people think they're director's assistants, which is a job, but completely different. So basically on a set, it's like you've got the director, and then you've got the director of photography is their kind of right hand for camera stuff, right? And then their left hand, I guess, is the first assistant director, which is not an assistant director. It's like a very high up position. You're basically the operating officer of like, you run the set, you set the scheduling, you oversee like budget stuff, right? So it's like all it's crazy.
Yeah,
it's a logistical nightmare, honestly.
I can see that.
So there's that job. So like all three of us like went into entertainment originally. So actually you'll notice if you go onto Gladeo LA, probably like our the industries that we started off covering were actually in entertainment, because we started off interviewing our friends, right? And that's who it was. And so, and then we've obviously grown a lot from there. But you'll notice maybe, you know, like some of our earlier stuff was all in entertainment. And we also have a partnership with Los Angeles County Department of Arts and Culture. It's such a long name. To even do a more deep dive into creative careers. So we can talk about that offline at a different time, but that is a part of the Gladeo project. It's just kind of an industry offshoot.
Yeah, sure thing. You know, we can connect offline, and then, you know, maybe we can have you come over to the camp and talk about your experience and bring a few cameras and stuff, and they get to, you know, they get to see what a camera is used on set and all that cool stuff. And
that'd be awesome. Well, I can't help you with the camera stuff because I was mostly running financial Excel models for my job and building PowerPoint decks, but someone will be better at the camera stuff than me. But no, that's super exciting. I'm really glad you're here. We have a new person. If you want to introduce yourself, feel free. I don't want you to just, but if you don't have to, if you don't want to. But we'd love to know who's in the group so we can make sure we kind of cover information. I will just keep moving on unless I'm interrupted. So, okay, so I walked through a career profile. Education, landing the job, there's like tips on how to land your first job. So, right, like that's the kind of stuff an informational interview would tell you. Be like, okay, before you apply, make sure you include this in your resume. Or if it's a creative thing, it's like, make sure your portfolio has this, and that, right? It'd be that information that you'd get from an actual person. We even give tips on how to keep advancing so you don't get stagnant in your career. And then to give you an idea of, we also have industry pages. So like this is all clickable, right? So like everything's kind of tagged with meta tags so they can click around in a really hopefully intuitive way. You know, like the way you go on YouTube and you click on a tag and it takes you to a bunch of other videos that you should watch that are similar. Gladeo is set up in that same way. On each industry page, you can follow it. Oh, I forgot to, let me go back for a second. Each career profile you can also follow. So if you have your own free account, that'll start building your like interest profile so that we can, I'll show you a bit later. If you click on this icon, you'll get a news feed similar. So it's similar to following anyone on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. It will help you get the right resources and news based on what you're interested in. You can also do that with industries. You can find out what the employers are, top employers in the region for that field. What are all the career paths in that field? You'll see these are the relevant to entertainment newsfeed posts that have been posted relatively recently. And then also navigate to the spotlights. So these are a lot of videos. Sometimes they're written like interviews, like in article format from ourselves and also from our partners. So some of our partners are LA Opportunity Youth Collective. We have a bunch of videos from the Art Center Pasadena, shared a bunch of their videos. Music Forward Foundation shared a bunch of their videos. So it's a great resource, especially for educators. You know, if you need help, like with a career day, and you know, obviously during COVID, we were on Zoom, so you're teaching on Classroom. A great way to kind of pull in and find great video content that you could kind of program to make your own virtual career day. So that's all obviously one way for educators or anyone to use it. Any questions about this? I'm going to move on. I'm sorry? I heard a voice. Okay, I'm going to move on. Please interrupt me if you want to, that's fine. Gladeo is also the place where after you kind of searched and done your career exploration, found what pathways interest you, it's a great place. We've also built a program finder so that you can find certificate, degree, and or training apprenticeship programs. We're continuously adding to this database. So there's several ways you might have noticed when you're on a career profile, you'll see this widget here, and it'll pre-populate the career that you're on. You can click through and find programs that way. And yeah, so our program finder has local programs, there's online programs. So like, depending on what you're looking for, you can really set your parameters the way you want it. So you can like search for several different career paths. Let's say you know which ones you're interested in, or if you just want to search by industry, you could do that. You can search by program type. So let's say you're already an adult, maybe you don't have the ability to go back full time. You just want to find a course or a certificate, something shorter. You can search by that. Some of these tags are pretty specific to maybe community college or pathway coordinator staff using it. So not relevant to everyone, but some people are using this a lot in depth. This aligns with the K through 14 CTE pathway codes. You can search by type of instruction, program cost, program length. If you know what school you're interested in too, you could search by that, by location. And then this eligibility is really mostly for apprenticeships because a lot of them have restrictions like work. So not relevant for most school though. So you can go through and search for programs. If you click on, a program, you can read about the program, learn about it. You can click through to the school's webpage for that program and learn more, sign up. You can save programs to your profile and go back to them later. Learn about what careers maybe are related to that program. I feel like it seems obvious, right? But like that kind of information is not often tied together. Like what can I actually do with this degree, right? So if you go through, I encourage you to take a look. If you're familiar with community college stuff, there's slightly more in our program finder often for community college programs. I was going to find an example. And there's things like, this might have it, program maps, which is a big community college thing where you can map the program and actually know what courses to take each semester to finish as quickly as possible. So that's a great thing. So those are all linked up. Some we've built, some other people have built. So I encourage you to great resource to use. And so the last thing that Gladeo kind of offers for our registered users is a personalized newsfeed of events and network opportunities and internships, and we're continuously adding to that. And so how we've done this is really through our partnership with LAEDC, et cetera. We're continuously evangelizing kind of to these partners that would post these opportunities. They're using Gladeo as a place to get the word out for these kinds of things. And so that's kind of right, like the meeting, we're like the meeting place between people who have a bunch of resources and all the people who need to know about these resources. So just to give you a sense of what it kind of looks like, try to make it look familiar. Should look like, taking a second to load, a Facebook feed or a news feed, et cetera, but you'll see, right, it's based on what, so this profile has followed healthcare and nurse or nurse, and that's kind of why it's shown up. Honestly, this is my test case, so you might think this person is a little scattered, but that's because I've followed a bunch of different industries and career. So it's going to show you anything from paid programs to new videos that have been posted that might be great to watch, to it's going to be live events, online events, webinars. We're hoping to really make that richer and richer as time goes on. So if you are an organization, or if your organization or school or ever wants to post on that as well, you are welcome to, and I could kind of show you where. So if you go to the homepage of Gladeo LA and you scroll to the bottom, there's all sorts of great links to show how to post to the newsfeed or become a partner, or if you're a school who kind of wants to get more involved. I didn't really mention it here, but we have a career development curriculum for high school that's integrated with the Gladeo experience that we also offer. If you're a college or a training program and you want to be in the program finder, that's another way to get involved. If it's any of those things, the best way to really reach out to us is through one of these forms. And that way we'll make sure to get back to you as soon as possible. And lastly, just to give you a sense of, I wanted to walk through some of the features that are really useful. So first I'll go through, sorry, I'm on a laptop, so sometimes everything's hidden. Okay, so you'll notice this little stickman figure in the bottom. That's our accessibility widget. So there's all sorts of great features that help people with dyslexia or other visual impairments kind of use our site, making it easier to read. I know it can be small for some people, so there's a way to make the text bigger with just a click. Sometimes it's not obvious where the links are, so that helps. Yeah, so I just wanted to show this. And then another thing is also our language translation. So it's translation. So if you look for this globe widget or globe icon, these are the top 5 other languages spoken in our county. So it's available to be translated into those. If you're on mobile, the menu is slightly different. So I'll kind of, so this is kind of a tablet view, but it's the same for mobile. If you want to find it here, you click on the menu and it's down here, as well as some of the other things get collapsed into this menu bar. And then I think that's it for my tour of Gladeo LA. Does anyone have any questions?
Nope, no questions at the moment. Great tour, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Grace, for showing us around Gladeo LA. So we had a question in the chat, whether this link or whether Gladeo LA is live already. Yes, it is. So I shared the link there. We'll also follow up with an email, which will include the Zoom recording and the slide deck that Grace covered. So you'll receive that later today. If you have any last minute questions before we let Grace go, we'd like to take advantage of her time.
No, great tour. Thank you, Grace. It was a pleasure to meet you virtually. And
it was great to meet you too.
We'll definitely stay in touch. I don't have my camera on at the moment because I have a lot of things in the background, but it was great to meet you. And yeah, no, Gladeo seems like a great resource for our youth and anybody to take full advantage of. It's so user-friendly and easy to navigate. So thank you for creating this, Grace.
Awesome. Thank you for that feedback. It's always great to hear from people who work with youth or adults. It's awesome. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Of course. Thank you for LAEDC for making the connection here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, Joseph. And you can also follow up with myself or Mariana if you have any questions to see how we can collaborate as well in the near future.
Perfect. Sounds good. Thank you, Jose.
Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Shakir, for joining us. If you have any questions, please let us know. Like I said, I'll CC Jose in an email in case you need to contact us as well. Other than that, thank you for joining us, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.
All right.
Take care, everyone.